So, I think what becomes important about understanding the purpose of the tarot is to understand the history of the tarot. And sadly, it took some people outside of the tarot community to bring the honesty in about this. Thankfully, the yoga community has a gentleman by the name of Mark Singleton, I believe, who recently wrote a book called The Yoga Body, which shows that many of the asanas that us yoga practitioners do are actually come from Europe, not India. It's another colonialism imposing upon India, have actually a physical health culture that took place at the turn of the 20th century, late 19th century, mainly built around the concept of building up physical bodies for war. So for tarot, though, there were these gentlemen, which is Ronald Decker and Michael Dummett. There's another gentleman by the name of Dupleix. He's a Frenchman. He's in the first volume. This is the second volume, A History of the Occult Tarot, 1870 to 1970. The first one was A Wicked Pack of Cards, and that is the inception until up to the 1870 mark. That inception, by the way, is just about 10 years after the American Revolution. So we're looking at about 1782 and to 1788. This is the first mention in a book by the name actually an encyclopedia of books called Monde Primitif, Primitive World, but more like pristine, great world, where this gentleman, a French savant, I wouldn't want to say he's a scholar per se, saw one doing tarot cards, which were a game in France. They had died out in France, but they were still alive in Switzerland. A friend had just come back from Switzerland. They grabbed these cards, and he saw them, and he just instantly, within 15 minutes of just seeing these pictures, determined they were from Egypt, and that they were a secret book, the pristine world, you see, that was going to tell all kinds of wonderful things. So, anyway, though, tarot has become a big hit. The point is that we really can't talk about something like, for example, of like author's intent. For example, when you pick up, let's say, for example, the Epistle to the Galatians from the Apostle Paul, or the Bhagavad Gita, or the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. At least I could pronounce that one. There's an author's intent there, and so when we start to go astray of what, say, most likely what Paul was about, or what Patanjali was trying to get across in Yoga Sutras, you can kind of go, no. We really need to move back to what the author was meaning. You can't do straight read a response. However, hermeneutically, there's a bit of a crisis at tarot, because it basically is a much more collective soul, heartfelt response to symbols. For example, most world religions have a symbol system based around something similar to ceremonial washings, whether that's baptisms or something like this. And because we physically clean our bodies with water, the idea is that is then moved to we cleanse our spirits through water. In the same way that when I was beginning some of my karma yoga practices, it was very intense, going into this new position, and I sometimes was working 12 hours and this volunteering and things like this. I needed to look at my Muladhara chakra, and so I did a number of yoga asanas or forms or kriyas actually to help me feel more grounded, because that's the point of the Muladhara chakra, being grounded. So I did a lot of very strong, stable poses that I held for long periods of time in order to push down, feel grounded, to rise up. And as silly as it was, by being grounded in those poses, I was able to be more grounded in my service, in my work, if you will. So it's a very similar kind of concept. What it is we have a symbol system in the tarot, and we pull on a common symbolic vocabulary we have as human beings that we then use to help better our lives, to look at ourselves indirectly, sideways, if you will. sometimes going at something head-on and, telling someone, for example, you may have a friend, and she is a Susie looking for a Johnny, or maybe she's got a very bad Johnny in her life, and you say to her, listen, you have a really bad communication problem. What the hell are you doing? You won't get nowhere. But you throw down 3 cards. You throw down, and one of them is the Magus, and then you have some other things, and maybe like the Death card out there, and you go, hey, look, you got Secretive, the Death card, because it's got Scorpio aspects. Magus card, communication going on. And this is not working in your relationship. These cards are in a neutral stance to one another. Actually, the Magus is weak. And so guess what? This isn't working. It's indirect, and so actually they'll receive that. They're more likely to buy that, to take that. And so again, this is one of the reasons why we do Insight Tarot, is it's sort of what I call a fortune cookie kind of technique, in which we can look sideways at an issue. Because it uses symbols, it's more subtle, it's not gross, as Patanjali would say in the Yoga Sutras. Gross or obvious, great, blatant in your face, and subtler things are harder, they take more practice to get at. So we start with things that are sometimes easier to get changes in our life. Eventually, I have been told, when I was working the psychic fairs, by people that were more experienced, that you will eventually no longer need cards. You will transcend them. You won't need those symbol systems. You'll be able to read cards in people as you see them. So essentially, the cards are a grosser method that we use in our way of progression. So again, I hope this is helping to build a foundation. You should begin to think about how to change your life and help other people that are willing to listen to you. Remember, we never impose this on other people, nor do we do readings where they are not willing participants, i.e. third-party readings. So with that in mind, I will then go ahead and show you a basic 3-card spread that's used for this sort of fortune cookie method to help us. And the idea is this is something we do in a daily practice. It's our practice because we have an application. The application is, how are you in life? If you're good with cards and bad in life, that's a bad practice. We need to have good practice that leads to good application. And that's the point. So then we have a future that we create, that we love and enjoy and can deal with and be part of. And have Manipura chakra, very important, 3rd chakra, about having a say in the matter of what becomes of us. So, see you in the next video about some basic kit issues and things like that. Satnam.